Hello everyone, this is Mike with the ShadowTrader Stock and Options Room. I have in front of me here that I want to show you once again the long-term chart on the TLT. I keep coming back to this chart and I watch it day in and day out actually, but I keep coming back to it with these public shadow short videos because I guess I'm a long-term thinker and I tend to really be attracted to what I think is a long-term wealth building asymmetric opportunity. And I keep seeing that in this chart as I visit it back and once in a while I'll go back to this monthly chart and I view this pattern here as a stepping down and then a flattening pattern on top of weekly support as being something that really needs to stay on my radar. More recently, now that we've looked at that, I know that this pattern here was kind of a fake out, and now we're back up inside what originally I thought might be the channel. Now, one thing about technical analysis is I think that you have to be willing to adjust and redo potential patterns and restructure them without saying, well, that's obviously was a bad pattern, blah blah blah, and just realizing that they do change, they do morph, but they can still be beneficial if you're willing to change with it and adjust and see what it might be pointing to. Charts change all the time. Charts are not an absolute. Charts are simply a tool to try to help you get the narrative so that you can trade more successfully. But again, nothing is 100% reliable. So I'm willing to change that channel and see if that's what's going to be the format going forward. As we've talked about in past videos, the bonds do have a tendency to build channels and build them quite nicely. It could very well be that what I thought was the channel was not the channel, and now it is really showing me what that channel is going to be if it's going to stay consistent from its past structures, with its past tendencies to build these structures. So that said, you can look at this chart and it could be that if you didn't have this here, you didn't foresee this, and there would be a lot of good reasons why we didn't, because it really wasn't a pivot until it now is, and now we've climbed up. So if there's any confusion, what I wanted to really point out today, if there's any confusion about what these longer term bonds are doing, I find it really helpful to go over to look at the 10-year. The reason I do that is because I learned a long time ago that the 10-year, well, let's actually keep that blown out. The 10-year structure, or the 10-year chart, I consider to be the backbone of the bond market. I could be wrong about that, but I have had that view in the past and associated with others that have that view, and I continue to hold that view. And I know that there's a tremendous amount of volume in the 10-year bond futures. That's what this chart is. It's the 10-year continuous contract. And so I tend to put some weight on this when I'm looking for guidance as far as what the overall bond market is going to do. So if I look at that, of course, we see similarities of what we just looked at with TLT. But if you had any doubts about what was going on in the near term with the TLT, just go over here to the bond, and you can see a slightly different picture that might be more helpful. First of all, you have, let me take this back out just one more time. You have a line running up through here. I don't consider this a high priority line, but I have learned in the past that bonds will create these tendencies to trade around these diagonal lines as well as the horizontal lines. So whenever I see this, I always put it in there because oftentimes in the future I'll be able to duplicate it and I'll see similarities to that structure somewhere in the there it is right there. That's the first time I've done that. You can see that it has a slanting tendency to build structures like this. And there you go. I didn't even do that until just now. So I'm learning this chart just as you guys are doing it here with me. So that can be important information because we can likely anticipate that maybe at this juncture of these two trend lines there will be a response to the downside, a recalibration of the auction. But in the meantime, if I go to a daily chart, we see here a pretty clear flagging pattern that doesn't show up quite as clearly on the TLT. The difference here is that we have a very flat bottom, and then we have a look below and fail right here. Let me blow that up for you guys. So not only do we have a bull flag, but we have an opportunity here to test that hypothesis with two different ones here that pushed below this cluster of lows and then tried to climb back up. I took one trade here and got stopped out on this candle. I took another one here and I'm still in it. But this pattern is actually something that now is knocking on the door of a high that indicates to me that we are in a long trend, or we may have resumed a more bullish stance on the bonds. And so what I am waiting to do here now, and the reason I'm pointing this out to you, is just to point out the 10-year can be very helpful, but that we have a zone right now, which I'm going to highlight like this, that if we break out of that, I would think that this would be, if you're not long now and if you're a long-term thinker, a position in either the futures or in the TLT or the TMF, or choose your weapon, would have a higher probability of holding after this bear flag. So if we do a Fibonacci extension, that probably, well, let's do that a second. I would imagine that that would get us close to that area where these two could come together. It's hard to say. That's a little bit of a shot in the future. We'll see how that works out. But keep an eye on this level and all these pivot highs right here, because I think that could be fairly significant for the bond market going forward. So I'll leave it at that. I plan to add to this. I have a futures position here. I plan to add to it, and if we can break out above there, and I don't really want to get out of it because of what the larger time frame here is suggesting could happen. So I'm going to ride this bull flag and see if I can get more of an asymmetric opportunity. And if that were to break out, we get up through here. We're in new territory. We may have completely left the consolidation and the reversal pattern that we see here. Not only do we have, I realize I'm getting a little long here, but we do have an inverse head and shoulders type pattern and a larger one outside of it. It's not picture perfect, but many people would say that this is the neckline, and you can bet that that's going to attract some attention. And that's what I seek. If I can get, the more people I can get on my side of the trade, the better. So I'm going to try to hang on to this. And but even if you're not in it, this is an opportunity to get involved, is what I'm pointing out. So I'll leave it at that for this time around. Hopefully this is helpful to you guys. All chart patterns can fail. This is one, though, that I'm going to stick with because I think it's suggesting something that could be very helpful for my retirement account this year. So until then, appreciate you being with me in this video here. And as always, I invite you to check out ShadowTrader.net, check out what's available there. And currently I'm moderating 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12 noon Eastern, and going over all kinds of everything that it takes, everything that's involved in longer term trading. So I hope to see you there. Wish you good trading, and I'll see you in the room.